So yeah, I'm Ian Schreiber, I'm at RIT, and this talk is not for the industry professionals out there. This one's for the hobbyists, the students, and those who haven't made a game yet but would like to. So if you haven't heard of Sturgeons Law before, it's just 90% of everything is crap. So this is an aphorism. It's like Murphy's Law. It's not a hard and fast rule, but generally in the world you'll find that it's kind of true. And this includes games. So 90% of professional games lose money is the typical figure given in the industry. And if you think about just the professional games that are released, how many of these in the stores that you see would you actually play, even if you didn't have to spend money on them? And how many do you spend money on as a percentage of total games released? How many games in your Steam library are still unplayed? So yeah, pro level fail rate of at least 90%. And you're not going to do any better. That's the downside. If you're a student who's still figuring out how to make games and learning the basic skills, more like 99%. So if you're wondering why your game sucks, that's why. That's the bad news. The good news is there's an exploit. If you go for quantity, not quality. So if 90% of your games are crap, but then you make 10 games, then statistically speaking, on average, you should have one game that's actually not crap. The games don't have to be big. The game on the left here has sold like 75 gazillion units, and if you know what you're doing, you could create a reasonable Tetris clone that's pretty much as fun as the original in just about an hour or two. The game on the right is Duke Nukem Forever. It took over 15 years and multiple large teams just to make it, and it hasn't made nearly as much money as Tetris. That doesn't mean you should make a Tetris clone. The world has enough of those, but it means an original game of that complexity is still perfectly fine. One of the biggest mistakes I see students making is working on a single massive game project over an entire 4-year undergrad degree. And it ends up being this huge thing, and 90% of the time it just collapses under its own weight, and at the end they have this mess of a half-finished game to show. So don't do that. Work on small projects instead, especially when you're learning just at first. Game jams are great for this. One weekend, you make a game. And sure, 90% of your game jam games are also crap, but 10% are not. If you do 10 game jams, odds are you'll have at least the start of one decent game that you can get out of it, and then you'll take that and you can polish it for public consumption, and then it'll be portfolio ready, and that's one more piece that you wouldn't have had otherwise. You can do better. Global game jams just once a year. Ludum Dare is 3 times a year, with mini Ludum Dares on every month. itch.io has a list of jams. There are like about 3 dozen jams going on right now. Don't do all of these, you'll burn out really quickly, but if you just did one game jam a month over a 4-year college degree program, that would mean you created 48 games, which means, statistically speaking, 4 or 5 games that turn into decent portfolio pieces, in addition to whatever you would have done otherwise. That's pretty solid. You'll also build some pretty serious rapid prototyping skills, which are just useful in the game industry for their own sake. But you can do even better. Even if you can't do a full game jam every weekend, because that's unrealistic, you could at least take, say, 4 hours out of a week. Most people have at least 4 hours of spare time in a week. If you don't, then you're probably working within a 4-hour margin of your capacity. That's not sustainable. Start dropping things. So take 4 hours and just make something. Try and make a game in 4 hours. That's small. And the first time you do this, you will fail hard. You will try to do something way too ambitious for 4 hours. You won't finish in time. That's okay. After a few times doing this, eventually you will finish something. And then you'll be like the guy in this meme. And like your game will still suck, but at least it will be done, and you'll still feel awesome because you got it done. And over time, you'll get a good sense of what you can and can't do in 4 hours, and you'll start finishing more and more often. And 90% of those will still suck, but 10% won't. And over the course of a 4-year degree, if you did just a 4-hour game jam a week, that's 200 plus projects over 4 years. And at a 10% non-suck rate, that's 20 portfolio-worthy pieces. Gets even better because, yeah, sure, okay, 10% of your games don't suck. That doesn't mean they're great, but some small percentage, maybe like 1% of your games, actually will end up being really, really, really awesome. The kinds of games that end up winning major awards, that end up becoming like these major groundbreaking things that started in a game jam, even if you just got there through dumb luck and repetition. So if you do this over 4 years, you end up with like 20 strong portfolio pieces, 2 major industry award-winning games, and more projects than most 10-year industry veterans have worked on. So yeah, I know none of you will actually do this. If you can't, at least do a game jam a month, and if you can't do that, at least attend a game jam or roll your own whenever you can. But any of you who do this are going to rock the world and the industry. That's my talk. Thank you.
Lots of applause from the other ranters.
Yeah, good job. There we go. I'm supposed to be up next, but everybody's supposed to introduce themselves, which didn't quite happen. So I'm Joe Cassavaugh, the Joe of Puzzles by Joe, and that was Ian, and he can introduce himself, and then we'll just go around. To you, Ian.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ian Schreiber, like I said, I teach full-time at RIT. I'm game designer, programmer, do a lot of speaking and mentoring and stuff. I don't know what to say. I don't know. If you want to know more about me, just Google me.
Joe?
Already did. I'm Joe, Puzzled by Joe. Go. Next.
Jesse James Allen. I'm a former EA audio designer and studio audio director, and now I'm just kind of a whatever is exciting, Renaissance guy. So I work in theme parks, I work in museums, and do all kinds of crazy stuff, and just happy to be here.
Right. I'm Karen Williams. I also go by the handle Hiccup Interactive. I'm just kind of a local game developer that recently got into the industry, as well as a IGDA member. So yeah, that's about my jazz.
I'm Michael Brown. I am the CEO and founder of Vicarious PR and the publishing label VidPub.
Hi, I'm Ginger. I am the executive director of ASIFA South International Animation Society based in Atlanta.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm a student at CSU and a member of the GGDA CSU chapter.
My name is Zane Everett. I'm the regional coordinator for the IGDA US South region. Making with UND for almost 10 years.
You, Paul.
Okay. I'm Paul Jenkins. I am the creator of The Origin of Wolverine for Marvel. I'm also a writer on such games as Hulk Ultimate Destruction, The Darkness. I've been in the business for 32 years, hence the grey beard.
Anything you want to say before I start, Rod?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ian, for that rant. Next we have, you heard him talk about his clutter games and how many he's done. The founder of these indie rants at Siege. Give it up for Joe Cassavaugh.
Okay, well, I was originally going to rant at how sucky Ian's rant was, but unfortunately it wasn't sucky. He, as usual, in between the idea and the execution, he improved it immensely. So I got to give him props for that. I really just wanted to slam him, and I can't. And it sucks because my secret, I didn't even prepare for this because my secret is just like the Hulk. I am always ranty. I have 3 or 4 topics on my mind, but the first one I'm going to start off with is COVID is not a fucking excuse. Do we have an 18, PG-18 on our YouTube today?
You know.
Watch the F.
Nope, go free.
Okay, good. So COVID's not a fucking excuse, okay? Life sucks at times, and in fact, all of life. Eventually you die at the end of it, okay? So COVID is either going to eventually go away or life's going to change, and yeah, restaurants are going to change, et cetera, and masks, et cetera. But at the end of it all, you've either done shit during this or you've done Netflix and chilled too much. Okay, back when I was 33 and a little bit, just slightly older than the people that are hopefully watching this, as opposed to really older like I am now. In fact, Paul, how old are you, Paul?
27, mate.
No, come on, Paul, how old are you?
54.
50, yeah. See, I've got 8 years on him. I'm 62. Anyways, when I was 33, or 30-ish to 33, I spent 2.5 years where I spent 4 hours a day after doing an 8-hour commute, an 8-hour job with a 1-hour commute each way. I still managed to spend about 4 hours a day on my first game, which really, really sucked. But I was glad I did it because, boom, down the road, it paid off. And that's the motto from one of my earlier rants. It's still on my screen. I'm going to look over and read it to make sure I get it word for word correctly. But everything you do is in preparation for a future path that you can't predict. Okay? You don't know what's going to happen in November. You don't know what's going to happen next week. From what I hear, batting third for the United States disaster is hurricane season coming up. So, there's, shit happens is all I'm saying. So, it sucks. And by the way, I want to throw in Black Lives Matter and the protest and all that shit. It is on fire out there. However, at the end, there's going to be a bucket of water at some point. Whether we turn into Nazi Germany or we make it through, you're still gonna live. And you're lucky to be in an industry that actually is positively affected by the COVID virus in a sense, because more people are sitting at home playing games more. And I think Jesse's talk earlier today talked about how, it's all going to transform how we get together out there. We're going to have virtual reality everywhere. We're going to, all those movie studios that exist that can't get people in their seats, okay, they're going to get gutted. And they're going to put props in there so that people can do VR from a distance with AR real things going on and shit like that. It's just going to be amazing. So, and you can't even imagine. Anyways, so what I don't want to hear about is just so many shit. It's not a time to get depressed. Yes, there's a lot of things to get depressed about, but if you got Unity for free or you're a kid, you just want to learn, man, you've got your time now. I used to tell people that I was so glad, Unity didn't exist when I was in high school because I would have never left the house. And that's actually true. I'm only social because I didn't discover computers until 2 years after I graduated from college. Okay, final thought. There is one. This is, I put this in this is the last thing I entered in my talk today. The purpose of making games eventually is to support yourself, I hope, okay? So I tell people the greatest game I ever played was called the game of creating original IP to generate money. And the score is actually in dollars. It's not in how much your friends love it, how much how beautiful it is, how fun it is for you. And one of the last ones, and this is the rant part, is I don't want to hear about shit about you guys. You learned something new. Don't give a shit. Monetize it. Okay? I haven't learned something, well, actually I learned Unity a couple years ago, but I'm still 2D and making money with that. And I avoid learning new things if it gets in the way of me making money. I'm right at the 5-minute mark. I'm saying goodbye. Cassavaugh out.
Now I know why Joe asked about going over. Rod, I think you're muted.
Yeah. Not muted in Discord, but check your mic, Rod.
Mic check. Anyways, Karen's up next, right?
All right, Karen, take it away.
Hooray! Alright, hi. That I'm still a little, feeling things from Joe's rant for a second. Alright, so my thing is kind of just gonna be about everything that you do makes you part of the game industry. As long as you're actively doing stuff, you're part of it. So even if you aren't creating stuff, even if you don't necessarily have a game industry job, if you are showing up at events, if you are following the pages, if you participate in the forums, you are part of the industry. And being a bit more open-minded as far as it goes with not waiting for the perfect key job that you're looking for. Like I run into a lot of people that are around my age that want to be at a particular company, do a particular thing, but understanding that you're not going to necessarily get those particular opportunities right off the bat, especially when there's 1,000 other people that want to do and be the same thing that you're trying to go for. So making your own path may be where you have to go sometimes. Starting a Facebook account, creating your own little slice of game industry might be what you need to do in order to fulfill your place until you do get where you're trying to go. So I talk about my Hiccup Interactive thing, just starting off a Facebook fan page and professional environment is something that I feel like everyone should, partake in and be proud of, because eventually that like whenever especially with how things are now, everyone's going to look into what you've been doing within like social media, whatever that you're interacting in, and kind of um, hearing like a little bit of background noise. Whatever that you're partaking in, like that's what everyone else is going to kind of like look at and develop whatever that their opinion is of you. So sometimes carving out your own little space is what you've got to do while you're waiting until you get a real job within the industry or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's the general gist that I'm going for. So be open to adjacent game industry jobs. Like my backup plan was doing like military simulations. It isn't exactly games, but it has some of the components as far as what I'd be working on that could tangentially connect to whatever that I plan to do with being a game designer. I got into casino game industry. I'm working at a VR training simulation company. Like looking into those tangential companies that still use the same technologies, that still do the same things, still contribute to you being part of the industry, even if you're not at the exact place that you want to be right now. So yeah, Karen out.
Beautiful stuff. Everyone, please mute your mics unless you're speaking or heckling.
Right. Somebody's got kids in the background making a lot of noise that's coming through. And not muted.
You guys hear that? It's like it. So it is me, and my mic is not from my headphones, it's from the computer.
All right, Rod, who's up next? Can we hear you now? We cannot hear Rod. All right, who we have up next?
Michael, I think.
Or is it me? Sweet. Okay. Where do I start? I want to talk about potential. Okay. So as a publisher and a PR agency, on both sides, I get a lot of developers pitching me their ideas, especially first-time developers or indie developers. There's something that we need to have an honest, frank discussion about. Okay. You showing me a prototype of a man walking down a corridor is not a vertical slice of a product. Okay, anybody could do that. My 9-year-old daughter could do that. All right, that does not show me that you can make a video game. Okay, it does not show me that you can reach the scope of your video game. And frankly, it sends massive red flags to me as a publisher when you ask me for $500,000 and that's all you've got to show me. Okay, I'm just going to throw that stuff right in the spam folder because that does not show me anything. Every developer out there, young, old, whatever, has potential. Okay, but you have to actually work on turning that potential into something that is actually going to work. It's really easy to stand there and talk and at events, especially with GDC and all those kind of things, people talk all the time about all the great ideas that they have. Everybody has great ideas, okay? I see dozens of them every single day, okay? None of them are particularly original, all right? It's not about how good your idea is, it's how well you can execute that idea, all right? So please, for the love of God, stop sending me people walking in a straight line down a corridor and calling it a game. All right? That's not a game. I'm not going to give you money for that. No one's going to buy that. It's not interesting. I don't like it. Please stop sending it, okay? If you want to actually get me interested as whether you're looking for a PR agency, whether you're looking for a publisher, show me that you can do the hard thing in your game. Show me in a vertical slice that you can pull off that mechanic that is not particularly is not seen much in that genre, right? Show me that you can actually do the things that you say that you're going to do and that you can execute that well in that demo. Because otherwise, you're just talking at me, and I get a lot of that, as you can imagine, okay? So please stop doing that. And please stop asking me to promote your game for free, okay? I don't want 5% of your sales. I don't. Do you know what I want? I want paid for my work. That's what I want, okay? Okay, when you go to work, you get paid, okay? I don't want 5% of your sales. I don't want to, get some sort of revenue contract going where you may or may not finish the game with your college school friends who, half of them will disappear from the project in 6 months. I'm not interested in that, okay? If you really want to get, actual PR and marketing, you have to pay for it like everybody else. That's part of it. Or you get a publisher, in which either way, it's not a problem to me, okay? But, I wouldn't ask you to develop a game that I had, like a game idea that I have for free, all right? With the potential promise of getting paid at some point down the line. Please stop doing that, okay? Because a lot of people do that as well, and I don't like it. And you know what? Nobody else likes it either. And it's very boring, and it doesn't mean... And I see the biggest thing is, well, it means you've got skin in the game, okay? No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And do you want to know why? Is because if you approach even like, let's say, a freelance marketing person, right? And you say, I'm going to give you 5% of my game sales to you in exchange for a year's work of PR and marketing, right? While they're doing that, let's say a big company comes along, a AAA company says, I'm going to give you $100,000 to do this game, right? Who do you think is going to get priority every single day? It's not going to be the one where you're like, oh, maybe you'll get paid at some point. So I think that's basically all I had to rant about today. But yeah, do better.
But Michael, if you promote my game, you'll get lots of exposure.
No.
And with the exposure comment, it's time for Ginger.
Oh my God, exposure. Sorry. That's one thing that as an artist we get a lot. But today, I wanted to talk more a little bit about soft skills.
Oh, and don't get up on mic yet first. That was
what?
So quick.
Can you hear me?
Personally, so many times. It was like he was talking right to me. I felt so bad, and I just needed to express that. And I wanted to express, I hope Karen and I talk offline, because I didn't, I want to make sure I didn't say anything that really pissed you off or anything, but just, the world does suck right now. So that's all. And I'm sorry. And
Ginger, rant about people who interrupt you. Go for it.
The soft skills.
Soft skills. Well, actually, my thing is about how empathy makes us better creatives or artists. And just to let everybody know where my background comes from is I animate 2D, 3D, stop motion, and now I'm an animation producer. So I think empathy is one of the things I wanted to talk about because I think it impacts every stage of creativity, as well as even if you're working alone or if you're working with a lot of people. And of course, a lot of times you might think, oh, empathy helps a lot if you want to be a storyteller. because, when you learn to create characters, you learn about the different cultural contexts. And coming from Thailand, I can tell you that you make one wrong move in terms of not understanding cultural context, and you make an ad which does not work well in a different country, that can also ruin your career as well too. But not in just as a career move. I think it is a skill set that helps to remind us that we don't live by ourselves. We live with other people as well too, and that does impact things. Like if you want to be a better character designer, you design from the inside out. The more people you know, the more you realize that people aren't groups of what they are, but they are individuals. So you have better stories, you have better motivation, even that different from yourself. As well as working in an animation setting, you're working with different groups of people, understanding that the next person in the pipeline needs something from you and how they need it actually helps the work group to become better, and it creates a sustainable environment, which you can implement into different protocols and processes as well too. And even things like understanding that different people come from different backgrounds with different disabilities or disadvantages. That way you can actually help prop your members to do better work as well too. But most of all, when I mention empathy, I think it's definitely good for artists. Sometimes we get really comfortable with being by ourselves, so that we talk to ourselves, we draw on our own canvases, and it's really a great way to express things, and it's cathartic. But in a way as well too, sometimes that also means that we tend to draw ourselves inwards more than outwards as well. It's really hard for me. I call myself a trained extrovert, because as being an introvert, I can stay at home. I don't need to see anybody or do anything at all. But that also means that sometimes when I go out and interact with people, I need to relearn a whole lot of things again. Like the way I say things, sometimes I don't mean to hurt people. It just comes out that way. And sometimes people can forgive you. Sometimes it does not work out that way. But most of all, what I feel like in the world today, especially, is that sometimes we're really focused on the technical part. And when you're starting out, you should definitely focus on getting your basics down for sure. But when you're going up to a different level, you become a lead. You become somebody in power positions. You become a director. You become a producer. You become a distributor. I think it's also very important to look back and remember where we come from, and that everybody does not come from the same place we do. And it helps you to kind of also understand that where we are, no matter who we are or how much we think we know, we always have room to grow. And I think that's one of the important things that has kept me going all the time when I feel down, when I feel like, I'm lacking passion, or just looking at giving advices to students and thinking to myself, how can they not know these basics? Then I remember back, I'm like, I didn't know any of these basics either. So I think that's from one point of view, no matter where we are, empathy is something that is a tool set that can definitely keep us growing too. Thank you.
Beautiful. And Joe, remember that. Empathy is the secret to good game design. Leave your life less cluttered, too. All right, we have a mystery ranter we hadn't promoted ahead of time. She is shushing the audience right now, so y'all shut up out there on the YouTubes and the Twitches. Mary McCormick, take it away.
Hi, y'all. I'm coming to you. I hope my audio is okay. I'm coming to y'all live from the laundry room because that's where the Wi-Fi is strongest. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it. I'm coming from, as I believe I'm the least experienced person here in terms of the industry. I'm still just a student. So where I'm coming from is going to be more so from the player's perspective. And so with that being said, I want to say, hey guys, aren't video games supposed to be fun? Because I think right now there is a big problem in the industry, specifically from the big AAA companies, but also from some the kind of mid-sized, somewhat indie companies, where they are doing one of two things. They're either slapping a new color of paint on the same old concept and selling it as something new, or they are coming up with some gimmick and making their whole game about that. And it's hard for me to really say exactly what the fix for that would be. As I said again, I don't really have any experience in the industry as anything other than like a very baby junior programmer and a player. But the games that have always stuck out the most to me are the ones that don't make things too complicated, that have a good balance of, you know, your mechanics and your story. Like, just, I think the perfect example of this is Portal, and because that was just a really interesting mechanic, and then they built a pretty good story around it, explaining it. Because you could take that and you could put it in a little player test realm and just let people go wild with it, like a sandbox game or something. But then what else do you have to go on once they've gotten tired of it? Once you've exhausted that mechanic, what's going to keep your player coming back? And actually, that was kind of short, but I'm going to end it there. And you can hear more about that later when I have my talk about motivation in video games. Thank you.
That's right. Mary will be back Tuesday with a special another presentation. We're going to do a special GJ meeting. And in chat, Mary, they say you obviously need more microtransactions in your games. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and go to Jesse James Allen for the next rant. Take it away, Jesse.
All right, so this is one that I kind of targeting the people who've been into the industry for a little bit of time. You know, maybe you're in 5 years, 10 years, or something like that. You kind of have your job, and that's what you do, and you're on your path. Stop waiting for permission.
So we can't hear you.
Nope, can't hear me. All right. So how about audio now?
No, hearing him fine.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hear him.
Definitely we can hear him.
All right. So back to what I'm saying. Stop waiting for permission to succeed. And basically what I mean by that is as you get older, curiosity is kind of a thing that kind of gets stomped out by a lot of people that, you know, are paying you, even if you're like, you know, working for somebody or just life in general just kind of weighing in on you. All that curiosity. Don't ever let that voice stop, because usually that's interest, and interest is kind of the thing that will motivate you to go further along in your life. A lot of people will say, well, you know, if I could just work my way up and get the opportunity to be, I don't know, a game producer or something of that nature, something that you aspire to be, don't wait for the door to open and say, okay, we'll come on in and we'll train you to do that. Just start down that journey any way you can, on any budget you can, and learn those things. And as many people have said in this exact presentation, you know, start building the small things. Don't be afraid to fail, like over and over and over and over and over again. You know, the rewards, this is an endurance race, and it's a lifetime long endurance race. So stick to your guns on that. Follow your curiosity, follow the things that interest you, and that will motivate you to go further and further. As you get better and better, you don't need to worry about somebody saying, hey, we would like you to do that thing that you've always wanted to do. It's undeniable that's the thing that you want to do. And anybody that recognizes that potential is going to say, I want that person, you, to do that thing for us. You know, and that is really how you have to look at things like that. It just, you know, it's persistence. It's the long game. It's just about having faith in yourself, trying to keep that fire alive. Don't give up, man. And don't wait for approval of, you know, anybody that says this is what your potential is. Only you know what your potential is. Rant.
Here, here. And I think most of Jesse's presentations, even when they're not supposed to be motivational, have turned out that way. Thank you very much. All right, Zane, I promise we'll be able to hear you, so take it away.
All right. Well, especially given that my talk was about something that was new technology, I'm going to disagree with Joe. Learning new things is imperative. In fact, Joe, you said you only learned Unity just a few years ago. You were making games before that time. You could have learned Unity in that time and be making a whole lot more games and getting your score a whole lot higher, a whole lot faster. It's imperative in this industry that we stay on top of new technology. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to be an expert on every new thing that comes out. For your discipline, being aware of new technology as it comes out, how to apply it and why, is imperative. For example, recently, a company that I was working for had a solution where we had to figure out how to organize a bunch of our different sets of code and split it up into different individual bits. So we can be sharing it across several different projects. Investigated a handful of examples. Now, I was not the one that implemented this. Because I knew of it, I was able to share what it was with someone who would implement it. That was using the Unity package system to create our own set of divisible bits of code to be able to share with different groups in the same company. That would have said, having known that it existed, it does tons of time, energy, and heartache having to roll our own solution. Just because it does not lead to money presently, it may lead to money later. Being able to make more money easier. That's exactly something that Joe did talk about, is every situation should be a learning situation. If you are averse to learning more new things about your industry, you're going to fall behind. You're going to make less money in the future. Rant is short, it's succinct, that's what it is. I believe firmly in learning new stuff. Not to be an expert, to know what it is, how to apply it.
Joe, do you want to rebut that? Tell them old is the best. Don't try these new things, these kids today. Keep making things with wood.
He mischaracterized me slightly. I put off Unity when Unity wasn't quite stable yet from everything I learned from listening to the indies in the area. And as soon as it became, and I tried little experiments to try to up my learning curve while still making money, because I still had to pay the bills, because I actually quit my job and became an indie, which means it was my only source of income. So I'm not going to risk my so much money a month trying to learn something new that may pay off. For the same reason, I won't go, go compete in mobile with 400 apps a day when I haven't seen anybody make shit in mobile. But for 3 or 4 years, people have said, "Why aren't you in mobile?" Same thing. They also say, "Why aren't you in Steam?" Now, I actually don't know enough. I don't know enough about Steam to be bad at Steam, but I'm still bad at Steam. And I've yet to see anybody there, again, make money. Now, maybe I could spend a lot of time and hopefully make money in the future, but I'd rather make money for next month's bills, etc. With all that said, I agree with about 95% of what you said, Zane, anyways. It was, I do agree. I was being hard-ass in the other way. When people brag about something they learn new when they're still not making money. That's all. It's just a focus thing. I actually agree with 90% of what you said.
That's what we get for unmuting Mike, or unmuting Joe. All right, Rod, want to introduce our keynote speaker and ranter?
All right. So, next ranter, we have, is this year's keynote speaker for CIMFest 2020, joining the great line of all of them. We have Paul Jenkins, everybody.
Well, thank you very much. As Michael will know, I'm British, and therefore I am not particularly into ranting. We don't do that in Great Britain. We leave that as the purview of you ugly Americans. However, I'm perfectly entitled to rant for at least 3 minutes, so this is all that I've got. I'm not going to rant about anything big. I'm just going to rant about the entire fucking entertainment industry. Let's begin with its lack of organization. Its lack of organization is demonstrated by the fact that I got no coaching or knowledge or anything about what these rants were actually about. So when I was invited to this CIMFest, I was given no help whatsoever. Joe, you can shut up. I don't care about your opinion. This is my 3 minutes or 5, depending on how long I go. I was given absolutely no help whatsoever. I was just basically told I was going to show up, and here I am ranting. So it's all off the cuff. And apparently when you're off the cuff, you're really going to say what's in your heart. Let's get to a further part of organization, which is completely broken, especially in the gaming industry. No one can work out their audio visual. I spent about an hour on the phone, Skype, Discord, smoke signals, and semaphore yesterday with the organizers of this very virtual convention because they didn't know how to make it work. At various points, I tried headphones. My headphones don't seem to work in Discord. I tried muting my mic. I tried adding my mic. The fact is that I've been to video game companies all across the world, and none of them know how to plug in a fucking television. I'm the writer. I'm not supposed to be in the audio visual. If I go into your conference room, it would be nice if you could make your stuff work, you bunch of fucking nerds. Now, added to that, this entire business is messed up in the suppression of creative content. I've been in this business for 32 years, and all I've ever heard is no about every single good idea. When I was working at Marvel, I went to the first editorial conference of Joe Cassavaugh, the new editor-in-chief, and I sat there for half a day and listened to a bunch of editors saying no to every single idea. At which point the publisher came up to me and said, "Why are you frowning?" And I said, "You're supposed to be the house of ideas, so why do you say no to every single good one?" The fact is, I have made great pitches. I have made mediocre pitches. I know which ones are good. I have come up with ideas for game design. I have come up with ideas for game design mixed with storytelling. And most of the time, it is met with my nemesis, this. The development executive that does this to me means I'm coming across the fucking table at you, pal. I would obviously not like to mention names, but let's talk about a particular example that I had with a company. Won't necessarily mention the company, but let's say that they rhyme with Disney. I went to an interactive sort of session with a couple of their development executives, and they were asking me to consult on the advent of new technologies and storytelling across AR and VR. At that time, it was a Wild West kind of thing. Nobody really knew what VR was going to do. No one knew what AR was going to do. And really, Disney's goal was to work out how we could use it to separate people from their wallets. But for a moment, I got a forum. They were paying me money to consult, so at least I could have an opinion. And I pitched them on all kinds of wonderful ideas, but I found out something really curious in the middle of all of this. I said to them, "You know what makes the most sense? You guys are Disney. You have Tron. Why don't we make an amazing project using Tron?" At which point they told me, "We can't use it for virtual or augmented reality development because the film people have it and they won't let us use it." Why is the entertainment industry so fucked up? Well, at this point, I said, okay, I understand that, but why don't we work some new different ways of doing it? So I explained it to them a little bit. I told them a couple of great ideas, and they said, that sounds very good, but question for you. Could you maybe do something in VR with, say, the Shaggy Detective or Herbie the Love Bug? Because they didn't really care about my content. They didn't even care about you or the people that are getting you content. All they cared about was separating you from your wallet and keeping their library intact. I may be British and I may be somewhat reserved, but I'm also grew up in the punk era and I'm likely to get in your face a little bit. So I said, yeah, actually, I do have an idea for Herbie the Love Bug. Imagine that you could put on a VR helmet and you could think that you were inside Herbie the Love Bug. And the guy said, go on. And I said, yes, well, imagine that you could basically put your hands on a virtual steering wheel and you got virtual fluffy dice and you could pretend that you were driving Herbie out into the road and you'd go past people and wave at them. And he said, that sounds wonderful. I said, why don't you just drive your fucking car to work? See, the fact is, development executives are the bane of my existence. The second bane of my existence is entertainment attorneys. The third bane of my existence is agents, of course. What's the true power in the entertainment industry? Whether it be games, film, animation, comics, any form of publishing. The true power comes from the creatives. And we need to put that power back in the hands of creatives because that's where it resides anyway. I dropped this mic, but it's very expensive. Thank you.
Hurrah! And I'm hoping having too much time to prep for conferences is the fourth bane of your existence.
Awesome, Paul, and you didn't try to rhyme.
Aren't British people so fucking angry? Gosh.
It's all that
Normally,
caffeine in their tea.
We would let the ranters fight it out, but we had a great question in chat. The question in chat was, how do you tell when it's crap? What sets off your crap dar? I think that's a great one for all the ranters, and we'll end with that and then go into Paul's keynote.
I can probably start, and in fact, Joe touched on this. if you've ever heard a British person rapping, right, then that's a self-evident truth. Like, British people do not rap. I was asked to rap last year, and I tried it, and it was exactly what I expected it to be. So if you if your spider senses are going off, if you get that tingle that says, this is kind of like a British person rapping, I would say knock it on the head. That's all I got.
Yeah. False smiles.
I'll let somebody.
I was going to say, if you show it to somebody and you kind of get like a fake smile, like a, oh yeah, yeah, trash it.
Yeah.
So I believe, number one, you have to make a love me or hate me game, which is if you really make a game where most people go, yeah, it's pretty fun, it's okay, it's good, it's pretty good. It really, really sucks. So, that's one thing. And the other thing is so in the game industry, that a lot of people say, the designers say things like, oh, it's really hard to find the fun, really hard to find the fun, really hard to find the fun. I got so sick of hearing it, I finally started saying to them, okay, I agree with you, it's really hard to find the fun, but you know what's not hard? Finding the not fun and staying the fuck away from it. And actually, to me, that's how you don't make crap, is you stay away from the crap, sort of, right? And the crap can be all the history of the industry, all the stuff they used to do, like a pop-up help to explain something. Drove me fucking nuts. But nobody wanted to hear, get rid of it because it's crap, because it's always been done that way. Okay, I'm done. Bye, Rant.
Well, I think depends on your definition of crap. Because if you're doing it for, like just this is good, you want it to be crappy, then it's good crap. But if you want it to make money and it's not making money, then I guess that's crap for not making money. And if you want it to be fun, but you're not enjoying it and no one else is enjoying it, I guess that's crap for that.
Okay.
Well, I fully endorse that, but I would say that, to be fair, like, just because I'm a great aficionado of the history of wallpaper, for example, it may not be the best idea for me to make a movie about the history of wallpaper. It's a little bit of self-awareness is what gets rid of the crap.
I don't know. There is the reality that sometimes crap sells.
True.
I wouldn't achieve for that, but it happens.
I think it also kind of applies to how much that you love it and being able to take your blinders off and be honest about it. Like, further than just the self-awareness, because it could just be you've got a golden bar that's covered in crap. And maybe you just need to clean off the rest of the crap that you have in there, get rid of some of the other stuff, and really focus on the golden bar and get, over your ego of trying to pack in everything that you have and that you love into the thing. And, be aware of what your audience is. Like, these section of people may think that it's amazing and these other people think it's crap. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily crap objectively.
And this is right. 90% of what you produce is going to be crap.
That too.
Speak for yourself, mate.
My advice for streamers is I give them a 3-step process for making a great game. It's like, step 1 is make a game. Okay, that game is not great. Step 2, try and figure out why it sucks. Yeah. And step 3, repeat until your game is actually good.
That was my 10-year plan.
Yep. Games start out like crap. Even the ones that you look up to as the best games you have ever played did not start out that way. Guaranteed their first iteration was awful. The being crap is part of the process to getting to great. So the big trick is knowing when to walk away from an untenable idea that's never going to be good, versus when to say, okay, this has some promise to it. It needs a bit of work. And I need to do the hard work of figuring out where the weak parts are, eliminating them, and trying again in a circle a few hundred times.
Scientific method of eliminating crap.
All right. Jesse or Mary, one of you want to take on the crap question?
I was going to say, I think you can tell a game is crap when you're making it if you can't figure out what the point is. It doesn't have to be a good point, mind you, but so long as there is a point. It kind of, I think it was Joe who said, make a love it or hate. Who said make a love it or hate it game? Yeah, like it doesn't have to be a good point. Bad point, and people can hate it, but at least you're doing something.
My thought on anything of that nature would essentially be one of the things that people want, especially in game development, especially larger teams in game development, say we want this game to be everything to everybody kind of thing. And they take on way too much stuff. Better to do a few things really, really well than a bunch of things, So focus.
All right, great stuff. Anyone other than Jesse want the last word? That's a great one to go out on. Focus.
Oh, tell them about your theory of colors.
Say what?
Tell them about your theory of colors.
I don't have a theory of colors. That's kind of a crap question.
Oh, come on. I love your theory of colors and the Ninja Mutant Turtles and the Power Rangers and
yeah, okay, we'll go there one, but it's not a rant, it's just the truth, right? So, all you need is colors, weapons, personality that differentiates. We did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was the third employee of the Ninja Turtles, and it was simply that we took a pretty violent comic book and put different colored bandanas on it, different weapons, told them, hey kids, they're just like you, they like pizza and skateboards, and everybody went, that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because let me tell you something, okay, you would never have put the 4 words Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles next to each other and thought they would be anything until they actually were something. So it was really just a formulaic pile of crap that we did, but it did okay because it grossed about $3.5 billion worldwide. So, yeah. And I've done that ever since. That's basically my career encapsulated.
All right, encapsulated. All right, Rod, you want to take us home?
Well, let me just give you my words of advice, and then we'll wrap it all out. So recently, all I've been seeing are remakes of games, or just remastering. Come on, guys, originality. Let's do this. Mafia 2, great game. Yeah, there you go. Don't need to remaster anything unless it's a good game. I don't want to see Atari I don't want to see Tetris on Atari remastered, guys. Bring forward some good things and do not remake Call of Duty. It's the same dang thing. So
they still are good games.
I know that, but they are. So appreciate y'all taking part in this. Appreciate everybody that took part in CIMFest, and we do have some more talks come throughout the week. But before one quick announcement before we kick it off to Paul Jenkins, our keynote speaker. 7 o'clock is Game Design Improv. This will not be streamed with one and only Ian Schreiber. If you had signed up prior, you got an email from me with directions how to get on. So if you're still interested, either message Ian, myself, or Andrew, and we'll give you the link to get on.